Block 1. Frida Kahlo, Pain. Imagine a life where pain wasn't just an occasional visitor, but a constant, unyielding companion, a shadow stretching across every waking moment. For Frida Kahlo, this wasn't a metaphor, it was her stark reality, a crucible that forged one of the most unique and powerful artistic voices the world has ever known. Her journey into art wasn't a choice born of leisure or academic pursuit, but a desperate, visceral response to a body shattered and a spirit in torment. Her story of suffering began early. At just 6 years old, Frida was struck down by polio, an illness that withered her right leg, leaving it thinner and shorter than the left. This early encounter with physical difference and vulnerability marked her deeply, setting her apart, even as she tried to hide the limp that became a lifelong insecurity. But this was merely a prelude, a whisper of the agony that would soon define her existence. The true turning point, the cataclysm that reshaped her entire world, occurred on September 17, 1925. Frida, then a vibrant, ambitious 18-year-old brimming with dreams of becoming a doctor, was on a bus with her boyfriend Alejandro Gomez Arias. In a horrifying instant, the bus collided with a streetcar. The impact was catastrophic. Alejandro later described the scene with chilling clarity. A handrail went into Frida's side and came out through her vagina. Her spine was fractured in 3 places, her collarbone broken, her ribs shattered, her pelvis crushed, and her right foot dislocated. Her right leg, already weakened by polio, was broken in 11 places. It was a miracle she survived. The bus accident that shattered Frida Kahlo's body wasn't just an injury, it was an annihilation of her physical self, an event from which she would never truly recover. Confined to her bed for months, encased in plaster casts and full-body corsets, Frida's world shrank to the 4 walls of her room. The vibrant, active life she had known was replaced by excruciating pain, loneliness, and the grim reality of repeated surgeries. She would undergo over 30 operations throughout her life, each one a fresh assault on her already fragile body. It was during this period of forced immobility that her mother, recognizing her daughter's despair and restless spirit, had a special easel made. It allowed Frida to paint while lying down. A mirror was affixed to the canopy of her bed, turning her own suffering face into her primary subject. This wasn't a choice, it was a necessity. With limited mobility and profound introspection forced upon her, her fractured body became both her prison and her primary canvas. Her early self-portraits, born from this crucible of pain, are raw, unflinching, and deeply personal. They are not idealized representations, but honest confrontations with her own image, her own brokenness. Consider her 1926 self-portrait in a velvet dress, one of her earliest. While outwardly conventional, there's an intensity in her gaze, a self-possession that belies the turmoil beneath. But it was in later works, as her pain became more explicit, that her art truly began to break new ground. Take The Broken Column, for instance. Here, Frida doesn't merely hint at her pain, she lays it bare with shocking candor. Her body is split open, revealing a crumbling ionic column replacing her spine, testament to the agony of her back. Nails pierce her flesh, not randomly, but methodically, almost like acupuncture points of suffering. Tears stream down her face, yet her gaze is direct, defiant. She stands in a desolate landscape, a symbol of her profound isolation. This isn't just a painting, it's a medical diagram of her soul, rendered with brutal honesty. The broken column, revealing a crumbling ionic column replacing her spine, is a masterpiece of pain made visible. Similarly, Henry Ford Hospital, painted after a devastating miscarriage in Detroit, shows Frida lying naked in a hospital bed, tears streaming down her face. Ribbons connect her to various objects symbolizing her loss: a snail representing the slowness of the miscarriage, a wilting orchid, a fractured pelvis, and crucially, a male fetus. The painting is a harrowing depiction of physical and emotional trauma, a public confession of private grief. She didn't shy away from the visceral, the grotesque, the deeply uncomfortable aspects of human suffering. Her art became her diary, her therapy, her scream. Each brushstroke was an attempt to reclaim a narrative that had been dictated by disease and accident. The repeated surgeries, the constant threat of death, the inability to bear children, these were not just biographical details, but the very genesis of her artistic vision. They forced her inwards, compelling her to confront her own image and condition with an unflinching honesty that was revolutionary. She wasn't painting landscapes or still lifes. She was painting the landscape of her own body, the still life of her own suffering. This transformation of agony into an unprecedented form of self-exploration is what makes Frida Kahlo's early work so compelling. She didn't paint her pain, she painted of it. Her art is a testament to the human spirit's capacity to transmute the most profound physical and emotional trauma into something beautiful, powerful, and deeply resonant. She showed the world that vulnerability could be a source of immense strength, and that by confronting our deepest wounds, we could find our most authentic voice. Her canvas became a battleground where she fought for her identity, her sanity, and her very existence, emerging not unscathed, but undeniably triumphant in her artistic expression. Her journey, steeped in the bitter reality of chronic pain and repeated physical setbacks, laid the foundation for an artistic legacy that continues to challenge and inspire, proving that even from the depths of despair, unparalleled beauty and profound self-discovery can emerge. Block 2. Frida Kahlo Identity. From the crucible of physical pain, Frida Kahlo forged not just an artistic style, but an identity so singular and defiant that it continues to captivate and challenge us today. If her fractured body was her initial canvas, then her multifaceted self, her heritage, her politics, her loves, and her gender fluidity became the vibrant, complex palette from which she painted a revolutionary vision of identity itself. Her art transcended mere autobiography. It became a powerful assertion of who she was, a declaration against conformity, and a vivid celebration of her roots. Central to understanding Frida's identity is her profound embrace of Mexicanidad, a powerful cultural movement that emerged in post-revolutionary Mexico. After decades of European artistic and cultural dominance, Mexico sought to reclaim its unique indigenous heritage and national identity. Frida didn't just participate in this movement, she embodied it. Her wardrobe was a deliberate artistic statement. The vibrant Tijuana dresses, with their intricate embroidery and flowing silhouettes, were not merely fashion choices. They were a visible link to her maternal indigenous ancestry, a rejection of Eurocentric ideals, and a proud affirmation of Mexican culture. These dresses, often heavy and restrictive, also served a practical purpose, cleverly concealing the braces and corsets she wore to support her damaged spine, turning her vulnerability into a statement of power and beauty. Her adornments, too, were steeped in meaning. Pre-Columbian jewelry, elaborate floral headpieces, and her iconic braided hairstyles, often woven with ribbons or flowers, were all part of this meticulously crafted persona. Her unibrow and subtle facial hair, which she famously refused to pluck or conceal, were a direct challenge to conventional female beauty standards. In an era when women were expected to conform to delicate, demure ideals, Frida's unapologetic embrace of her natural features was a radical act of self-acceptance and a visual rejection of patriarchal expectations. She wasn't trying to be beautiful by societal standards. She was defining beauty on her own terms, embracing a more androgynous, powerful aesthetic that blurred traditional lines. Beyond the visible, Frida's identity was deeply intertwined with her political convictions. A lifelong communist, she was fiercely committed to social justice and anti-imperialism. Her political beliefs were not separate from her art, but woven into its very fabric. She and her husband, the muralist Diego Rivera, were prominent figures in the Mexican Communist Party, even offering asylum to Leon Trotsky and their famous Blue House. While her self-portraits rarely depicted overt political scenes, the very act of a woman from a marginalized background asserting such a powerful, independent, and culturally specific identity was in itself a profound political statement. Her art was a manifesto for self-determination. Frida's exploration of identity also boldly into the realm of gender and sexuality. She was openly bisexual, a fact she expressed not just in her relationships, but also subtly in her art and personal presentation. She was known to challenge gender norms by occasionally dressing in men's suits, a practice documented in photographs and even referenced in her art. This gender fluidity was groundbreaking for her time, a defiant refusal to be confined by restrictive societal definitions of femininity. She embraced her whole self, contradictions and all, presenting a complex tapestry of desires and expressions that were far ahead of her era. Her paintings are rich with symbols that speak to these layers of identity. Consider the two Fridas, painted during her divorce from Diego Rivera. This iconic work depicts two versions of Frida sitting side by side, holding hands. The Frida on the right wears a traditional Tehuana dress, her heart whole and connected by a vein to a miniature portrait of Diego. The Frida on the left wears a white Victorian-style dress, her heart exposed and bleeding, severed from the portrait. This painting is a profound exploration of her dual identity, the traditional Mexican woman versus the European-influenced, heartbroken woman, both part of her, both equally valid. It speaks to the fragmentation and integration of self, a theme that resonates deeply with anyone who has grappled with conflicting aspects of their own identity. The two Fridas, depicting two versions of Frida sitting side by side, is a masterclass in psychological self-portraiture. Another powerful example is Self-Portrait with Thorn Necklace and Hummingbird. Here, Frida wears a necklace of thorns that pierces her skin, drawing blood. A dead hummingbird, a symbol of good luck in Mexican folklore that also represents lost love, hangs from it. A black cat, symbolizing bad luck, lurks on one shoulder, and a monkey, a gift from Diego, on the other. This painting is a complex web of symbols relating to her pain, her heritage, her relationship with Diego, and her connection to nature. It's a testament to how she wove her personal narrative, cultural beliefs, and emotional state into a dense, symbolic language that made her identity universally relatable despite its specificity. Frida Kahlo used her self-portraits not just to depict herself, but to construct and deconstruct her identity in public view. She didn't just paint what she saw in the mirror, she painted what she felt, what she believed, and what she aspired to be. Her art became a powerful vehicle for challenging societal norms, for asserting a fierce independence, and for celebrating a deeply rooted cultural heritage. She showed us that identity is not a static concept, but a fluid, dynamic, and intensely personal journey, one that can be expressed with breathtaking honesty and revolutionary courage. Through her vibrant clothing, her cultural symbols, and her unwavering political convictions, she transformed her personal existence into a powerful artistic statement, inviting us all to confront our own preconceived notions of self and belonging, and to find the courage to define ourselves unapologetically. Block 3. Self-Portrait Power. We've explored the profound pain that shaped Frida Kahlo's early life and the rich tapestry of identity she so defiantly wove. Now, let's delve into the ultimate question. What is the true power, the enduring legacy of her self-portraits? Why did she paint herself so obsessively, dedicating over a third of her entire artistic output to her own image? The answer lies in how she transformed the act of self-representation into a revolutionary tool, a form of therapy, a public diary, a political manifesto, and ultimately, a radical act of control over her own narrative in a world that constantly tried to define and diminish her. Frida painted herself because she was often alone, confined by her physical ailments, and because she was, in her own words, the subject I know best. This intimate knowledge allowed her an unparalleled psychological depth in her work. Her gaze in these portraits is rarely passive. It's direct, unblinking, often challenging, inviting the viewer into a profound, sometimes uncomfortable dialogue. She presents her vulnerability not as weakness, but as a source of immense strength. By exposing her inner world, her pain, her desires, her fears, her resilience, she created a universal language of human experience. While often associated with surrealism, a label she famously rejected, saying she painted her reality, not her dreams, her art undeniably shares the movement's dreamlike quality and symbolic intensity. She used fantastical elements, juxtaposing everyday objects with deeply personal symbols to convey emotional and psychological states. Animals like monkeys, parrots, and dogs, as well as plants and natural settings, were not mere background elements. They were integral to her narrative, often representing aspects of her relationships, her Mexican heritage, or her emotional state. The monkey, a gift from Diego, often appears, sometimes as a symbol of tenderness, other times as an almost demonic presence, reflecting the complexities of their tumultuous bond. The plants, rooted and vibrant, often mirror her own struggle for life and growth amidst adversity. Her self-portraits were a form of catharsis, a way to process the ceaseless physical and emotional torment she endured. Each painting was a step in her ongoing self-therapy, a visual record of her struggle for survival and her quest for meaning. In a time when women's stories, especially those of pain and trauma, were often silenced or privatized, Frida's decision to put her suffering on public display was groundbreaking. She turned her body, marked by illness and accident, into a site of artistic and political resistance. She reclaimed ownership of her image, refusing to be a victim, instead becoming the active creator of her own myth. The power of her self-portraits lies in their ability to transcend the personal and touch upon universal themes. Her depictions of physical pain speak to anyone who has experienced suffering. Her exploration of a complex, evolving identity resonates with those grappling with belonging and self-definition. Her raw emotional honesty connects with our shared human experience of love, loss, betrayal, and resilience. She didn't just paint her life, she painted the human condition itself, filtered through her unique, vibrant lens. This is why her work continues to resonate globally, speaking to people across cultures and generations. Frida Kahlo's art was also a powerful political statement. By consistently centering herself, a woman, a mestiza, an invalid, a communist, a bisexual, she defied the patriarchal, Eurocentric art world. She elevated the personal to the political, demonstrating that an individual's struggle for selfhood and self-expression is inherently revolutionary. Her unwavering gaze, her refusal to avert her eyes from her own brokenness, became a metaphor for facing uncomfortable truths, both personal and societal. She broke down barriers between artist and subject, between public and private, inviting an unprecedented level of intimacy that few artists before or since have achieved. Her legacy is not just one of artistic genius, but of profound human endurance and self-discovery. She showed us that art can be more than aesthetics. It can be a means of survival, a form of spiritual alchemy that transmutes agony into beauty and vulnerability into strength. Frida Kahlo's self-portraits are not merely pictures of a woman. They are windows into the soul of an icon who dared to live, love, and create on her own terms. Her unflinching self-representation continues to inspire countless individuals to embrace their authentic selves, to find beauty in their imperfections, and to tell their own stories with courage and conviction. Her unflinching self-representation continues to resonate globally, making her a timeless icon whose art transcends mere aesthetics to become a powerful testament to human endurance and self-expression. Her work reminds us that true power lies not in hiding our wounds, but in transforming them into art that speaks to the deepest parts of ourselves and to the universal human spirit.